And welcome everybody to our sixth episode of Politics for the Soul. I am Immigrant-1.
And I am Immigrant-2.
And we welcome you to our sixth show. So if you please remember to hit the subscribe button and the bell so you can be reminded when we upload our new episode. We thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right, Edwin, let's get started. Something's going on here. Let me see. Let's start with this thing of Trump attacking Mc Cain.
That's unbelievable. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, what is the problem with this man and Mc Cain? Seriously. Huh?
That is true. I mean, he says, what I notice about this president that we have is that whenever there's someone that has done good for the population or the citizens of the United States, he has to throw his 3 cents in a negative way. You know, it seems like he praises other things that are not good.
Bro, the only thing that this man praises is himself.
Exactly.
You know, he doesn't praise any other thing.
Well, he's a narcissist.
Yeah, he only praises himself and everybody else who praises him. And that's
exactly.
You look, the guy is a freaking nut. Yeah. Seriously. Trump is out of control. He's a nut. But I guess that's why they love him, because he's a nut. Right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, the conservative that he's got running for him right now are nuts.
They are.
And they love him. You know, they love him.
Oh, they praise him.
You know, and he can turn anybody down, go after anybody's family, and they look at him as Jesus.
Right, exactly.
These are the conservatives whose principles are supposed to be in the holiest of thou, because they are the voice of Jesus.
Well, they're supposed to be given biblical principles.
Oh, please.
You know, living and showing the people. Yeah, right.
Well, you know,
they're not.
I don't know if anybody's noticing our channel, but we have a tribute to John Mc Cain. If you guys click on that video, it's an audio that we put together that I think is inspiring. You should listen to it. You should listen to that audio.
Definitely.
But here we go again. John Mc Cain, look, he was a Republican. Okay, I'm a liberal. Okay, right. But I remember when John Mc Cain ran against Obama. And there was a lady who came up there.
I remember that.
Remember that? And she says, "Oh, I'm scared." And she says, well, why are you scared? And she goes, "Well, because I'm scared of Obama because he's a terrorist."
And he
could have, John Mc Cain could have ran with it.
Right.
He could have incite hate.
Right.
He could have said, yeah, you should be afraid of him. Of course, you see this, you know what I mean? Like Donald Trump is doing now.
Oh, he could have used it as a political game.
Exactly. But what did John Mc Cain do? He put politics aside and says, no, man, no.
Exactly.
Not in my campaign. You know, this is a good man with a good family, with a man who I just have political disagreements with.
Right, and he was very blunt, but yet cordial, respectful, and you could say that he was his duty bound to what?
To loyalty. I mean, to the country first. Exactly how he ran.
Exactly.
But let me tell you, and that was the day that for me, I became a fan of John Mc Cain, because I said, wow, you know what? That was so big of him. That was a part in our history in American politics that every politician should take a note from and learn.
Yeah.
You understand? That although we may disagree with one another, we don't have to vilify one another.
Right, and we don't have to live by living in a square box. What politics should be about. You should be an individual first, you know, and understand law. Okay, of course, because he understands it. You know, understood it. And
but it's
principles.
It's not only about law, it's the moral.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. It's the principles.
You understand? Knowing the law is one thing. I understand we're a nation of laws, right, Ed?
Right.
But morally, these Republicans are supposed to be the conservatives that wants to hold the moral ground, right? Not. But here they have this ass of a president, okay, who is turning, even if this man passes away, who is vilifying this man, trying to vilify his legacy. You understand? But John Mc Cain was more man in his little pinky than Trump will ever be. And that's his problem. His problem, like Mc Cain made a point, that his problem is that he can never be that kind of man.
He can never be that kind of man. Never. Has never shown to be that kind of man.
Oh, please. The guy's a freaking...
He's never shown a way that he has humanity in him, you know what I mean? Or morals. He is just a straight cutter, that's all he is. And he even, I remember Barbara Walters interviewing him back in the 80s, I believe it was. There was a lot that they weren't selling him, in the auction somehow. And Barbara Walters tells him, he goes, so when do you think, you're going to get the lot? And he goes, it's okay. When it becomes cheaper, I'll buy it. With a narcissistic attitude.
Well, you know what? He's
like a monopoly.
He's a pig. He's disgusting. Seriously, he's a disgusting president. Bottom line, he's even more disgusting than Nixon and anybody else.
I mean, from the phrases that he says about women, the comments, even women, like his basic viewpoint on women. He says he's going to do this for the military. I mean, what's going on with that?
Look, this guy does not deserve the leadership role in our presidency, in our democracy, to represent or even be a role model for our children. This is not the guy. I'm telling you.
No, he's not.
You know what gets me? There was an evangelical guy who came out on CNN,
right,
by the name of Jeffries, I believe. I don't know his evangelical name, but let me look him up really quick, and I can tell you, Jeffries. He's some evangelical guy who runs some big church in Alabama, right?
Right.
And he says, "Oh well, this guy was chosen by God."
Oh, that's what he said?
Yeah. Now this is the same guy who said Obama was the Antichrist. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is what gets me. Let's compare the two. Okay. Here you have Obama, who there was no prostitute or no other woman that came forth and said she had an affair with Obama.
No, not at all.
Not at all, right?
Like,
there was no kind of controversy surrounding Obama's moral ground.
Right.
Right. There was no corruption or anything that came with Obama.
Right.
Obama did not own casinos where you gamble, which is against the Bible.
Right.
Obama didn't believe in polluting the earth or polluting our water. He was an environmentalist.
He didn't pull us out of climate change.
Exactly. He was an environmentalist. So he really cared about the planet. So that means he's cleanliness, and cleanliness is supposed to be next to godliness. Am I correct? But look at how this Christian man, this evangelical guy, Jeffries, whatever his freaking name is,
right,
phrases that Trump was chosen by God. Mm-hmm. I don't think God is going to choose someone who pays off a porn star. Mm-hmm. All right, who was unfaithful to his wife while his son was in the other room, who owned casinos, which is against the Bible's principle of gambling, right?
Right.
Who is corrupted to the core and spoiled to the core, doesn't help the sick, doesn't help the poor,
right?
Doesn't unify us but divides us,
right?
Well, on the other hand, Obama did the opposite. So I want to know from this Alabamian evangelical, how can God make a choice like that?
Well, let me tell you, we have him right here. He's coming in right now.
I mean, I don't get what kind of church is this guy running?
I don't know.
What kind of church is running?
His own mindset church.
You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, this is crazy.
That's his own mindset because I mean, God is in control, right? But for you to say and put God into what you're saying, that's really, I mean, absurd. I mean, for everyone to believe what you're saying, that's absurd. That's like out of this world, what you're saying.
Papa, I'll tell you
Not
who chose.
you, I'm saying
Trump was chosen by the devil himself, baby.
Right.
Yes, because Putin backed him up. Because Putin loved it, and Putin is the devil himself.
Hey, but I always said I like yellow Putin.
Get me a drink.
That's all
you and me are friends, man. No problem.
I just can't stop having fun with that. Yellow Putin.
I'm Putin on you.
Okay.
I want you, Trump, so I can poop on you. Putin. He's gonna put the Putin poop.
There you go.
Oh my God, I'm telling you, this is crazy, bro.
But I look at everything on TV and on Twitter, whatever. I see Republicans, I see all these things going on, but mostly like suits. You're like, all these suits, right? What you're representing with a suit then? If you're wearing a suit, usually a suit back in the 40s and 30s was to represent morality, vitality, and energy, and good energy, not bad, right?
Right.
And I look at Trump, and he's got his red tie all the time, and which is symbolic, I don't know of what, right? Blood money? I don't know.
IBM, that's what it is.
IBM. That's it. He's a walking statistic, whatever. But
that's the bottom line, bro.
He's terrible, man.
Yes. Yeah. I'm like, yo, this is ridiculous. Now, let me tell you something. The thing that happened in New Zealand.
Oh, that's sad,
incredible. I mean,
with the change of banning the weapons.
Well, not just that, weapons. Just the fact that they went into a Muslim temple to kill people.
That's bad, yeah.
And they cited Donald Trump's words.
Yeah.
You get it? This is what Barack Obama was talking about when he was president. He says, you know what? The words of an American president has consequences.
They're empowered. I mean, in everything, throughout all religions and cultures, word is very powerful.
Especially from people who look up to you. Yeah. Regardless of whether you're crazy or sane or whatever, you have this mob that just looks up for you. Mm-hmm. So Trump has this mob that looks out and looks up to him, and he needs to be careful. But he knows, he's calculated. He knows that these things incite hate.
Yeah, very much.
That's why that's why he hasn't denounced the Ku Klux Klan or the militia or white supremacists.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't denounce
anything
them.
Else. He speaks.
Oh, he denounces a Christian guy, but he doesn't denounce the Ku Klux Klan guy.
Yeah, exactly.
You understand what I mean? Oh. He denounces Mc Cain as a war hero, but then he praises David Duke.
Well, he talks about the white supremacy, because white supremacy has come up, those issues, how it's a growing expansion of people feeling the same way, right? But he's saying that it's only a small group.
A small group, yeah.
My foot.
You can say that. Yeah, this is a wasp speaking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't believe a wasp.
Me neither.
So what happened in New Zealand is sad, and our prayers go out to them in New Zealand. But look what they did in 2 days. They managed to do gun reform and ban assault weapons to sales to citizens. Why is it that we're so obsessed in America to own assault rifles and machine guns and things like that are sold to citizens? I don't get it.
I don't get it either. Yeah.
Why is it that these evangelicals or these Second Amendment nuts say that the Bible and the gun go hand in hand? Like, how does that happen?
It doesn't.
How does the Bible and the gun go hand in hand?
Well, if you look at it, in the Old Testament, what I mean? It's a whole long story, but all I can tell you is a history.
Well, cut it short, man.
Okay, let me try to concise it,
Give me the summary.
The summary pretty much is that they were at battle for Jerusalem constantly, Mm-hmm. And they had to fight their way through these barriers in order to get to that place, with Jerusalem. Because Jerusalem has been conquered many, many times. But basically that was given to them. That's why they praised the land for themselves, and they really look at it as something invading when someone comes from the outside.
But that's different. But at the land, protecting your land is different.
Right, but that's different. Exactly. You're talking about the Old Testament. You're talking about centuries ago. You know what I mean?
Right. I get you protecting your land. Right. Okay. I believe. Okay, the Second Amendment. If it gives me a rifle or maybe even a machine gun to protect my house, okay. Fine. Mm-hmm. But for me to just have a sport and whatever, but there should be some kind of regulatory system in place to say, look, you know what? Psychological evaluation is important.
Yes, definitely.
If a psychologist believes that you shouldn't own a weapon, mm-hmm. they should be able to put it in a centralized system.
But not only that, I believe that there should be also, let's say second generation training. You know, like there's people that own guns, right? Actually, that's not second generation, right? That's first generation.
Right.
Let's say I'm a senior now and I still own a gun and I'm 80 years old, right? Now my teenage grandson comes over. He's 15 years old all the time. But little do I see that depression, or little do I see, or whatever he's going through in his life. It could be PTSD even as a man. You know what I mean?
Right.
But you have to have the responsibility. Are you able to have the responsibility of keeping that child or person away from that gun, or letting them know the location, or letting them see where you put it, or whatever the case? I think it's a psychological evaluation is important, but also the constant training of parents and uncles or whatever it takes, cousins, that if that child or that person's near you, you know, and they have some type of social problem or whatever a case may be, or even, you know, the possibility of being sociopathic or whatever.
All right, but let me ask you something. Do you believe in the Second Amendment? Do you believe people should have the right to bear arms?
You know, I personally don't really like guns, and you know that.
Right.
I had my guns,
but then remember, these conservative rural people can be like, oh, he's city folk.
He don't believe none.
These city folk crazies, and
I know he just saying what he
liberal
wants to say.
nuts.
Yeah, exactly. He said, "Go fishing, boy."
He's a sissy because he doesn't like gun. He's a poop.
Yeah. He can't even fish. You know. you know. You know. It's just like. It's my choice, though. You know what I mean? I don't like guns, and I believe that.
So why should you take the right off of my gun if you don't like it? That's your problem.
Because it doesn't take an AR-15 to kill a deer. You know what I mean?
Mother Fletcher.
Which I also believe in not killing. So, you know, deers or any animal. You know what I mean? Like safaris. People go on safaris.
Well, it's different. If this is my dinner plate, I don't know. But look, I support the Second Amendment, believe it or not.
I do to a certain point.
Yeah.
If we can I
go ahead.
Speak, man? You letting me talk?
Yeah, go ahead. It's yours.
You know, I get paid for this. I want to play. Yeah, right.
The floor is yours, bro.
No, it's not mine. But I'm just saying, if you give me the opportunity in a situation where our country's in a invading type of situation, there's an invasion coming, and I have no choice but to fight for my country, you know, or my land, or whatever the case may be, for my family, then I have no choice, you know.
Yeah, but that's what it was built for.
Right. I would take that gun.
It was built as a federalist state against federalists. You know, when an invasion came, or you're fighting for your land.
Like a militia against the militia.
Yeah, that's what it was built for in that situation. You see what I mean? Right. I do believe in the Second Amendment. Let me tell you why I like the Second Amendment. I think people should have the right to bear arms to protect their homes.
Yes, me
right?
too.
Even if it's not a militia or an invasion, just the simple practice of being able to protect your home and your family. I believe in that fundamentally. Be like, okay, I should have that right. Right. Even the right to hunt. You know what I mean? For sports and games, whatever I do, that's fine. You understand?
Right.
But I think that I should, as the Second Amendment, should be limited. You understand? To how I can use it and what I can buy.
Exactly.
You understand? For me to protect my home, do I need an AR-15 or an AK-47? You understand? If I'm gonna be into gaming, right? Then I think that for me to buy an AK-47, an AR-15, or anything like that, I think there should be a nice background check to say, okay, is this person sane?
A psychological
Is this person psychological enough to have an AR-15? And it should be a registration and following where that person bought that gun from, who and where, so that just like when you buy a car, it's registered, it's yours, they know who owns it, and they know what you're doing with it.
Exactly.
You get what I'm saying? So I think there should be some regulation as to the artilleries and the weapons, like, you know, like bump stocks and all that stuff, all things that are deadly, that it can fire in rapid fire. Yeah,
right.
I think it should be controlled.
There's countries that are doing it. There's countries that are having success in that particular type of plan, you know, where you're a homeowner, you protect your land, or things like that. And, you know, it's amazing. Yeah. You know, and the crime rate is very low. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, and look, and even with that, I agree with the fact that you can carry, right?
Right.
You know, every man has the right to stand his ground. right? I mean, again,
Do you believe that? Stand your ground?
you know what?
Because it's controversial right now.
Well, again, that is such a seesaw type of thing for me, because I do agree with it in one sense and disagree with it in another. But we're going to take that on a different show.
Yes,
to
we
go
are.
into deep, because that to me is such a thing. Okay, I do believe in standing my ground.
Like me,
I don't,
I'm more like leaning towards a no.
Yeah, but you're religious. I'm not. You see
No,
what I
you know what
mean?
it is. You know what it is.
You're the type
No.
hit my cheek and I'll turn my other cheek. Nah, you hit my cheek, motherfucker. I'm gonna hit you back.
No, I'm not gonna.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I'm just gonna say, like recently, we're not gonna get into
on the
that.
next. We'll save it for the next
We'll
segment.
save it for the next.
But yes, on the next topic that we want to do, let's just stick with New Zealand now. In New Zealand, here's the summary on this. They did it in 2 days. They did gun reform. They took assault weapons off the people.
Yeah.
They were able to do it. I think that America can follow. I think that we should actually lead on this, but I don't think we are, because again, the NRA has big money in Congress, big money in the Senate, big money in the White House. So I don't see this happening unless there's a revolution, like Bernie Sanders says, to stand up and actually revolt against the NRA.
Well, the problem that I'm noticing is whenever there's something that maybe could be changed, or whatever the case may be, for the betterment of humanity in our society, United States, since it's a commodity, we actually make it into a big deal when someone says and brings up the issue and says we can make this change. We could do psychological evaluations, and then all of a sudden, that's a socialist communist right there just speaking, and you're like, what?
You're a socialist immigrant.
Yeah. You're not a socialist just because you're saying something that's true, right?
Yeah, but you're hitting something on socialism now. Now that you're on the topic of socialism,
right.
let me hit that, because I have something really passionate about socialism. The Republicans like to call Democrats socialists because they like to control corporations.
Right.
To say, let's regulate them. Let's make sure they don't abuse their power. Let's make sure they don't abuse the system or pollute the air and stuff like that. Just regulate it. Common sense regulation, right? But now, here's the Republicans that love socialism in a sense where they socialize people.
Yes.
They like to control women's vaginas. I mean, the vagina is more regulated by the Republican socialists than the guns or the corporations.
That's true.
So they believe in having big regulations on women and their decisions with their bodies and how they handle or what they can get as contraceptives, or if they can have an abortion, or just a choice, right? That to me is socialism, but you're socializing now people instead of corporations.
Yeah.
So they're pro-socialist to socialize people, and they're anti-socialist to control corporations for doing the right thing.
Right. That's amazing, because they're harvesting their own agenda.
Exactly.
That's what I call it.
So I say, listen, the Republicans need to stop regulating vaginas and regulate the climate.
That's true.
and regulate corporations, and regulate dirty water and dirty air, and regulate gun control.
Especially our children for the future are involved in these situations.
All right. Well, topic, military parade.
Amen to them, because if they weren't out there looking at our borders.
No, I'm talking about the military parade that Trump.
But I think the military men and women of the military,
Oh yeah, well
all
Trump,
they do.
They do an excellent job, and I don't know if you know this, but Trump requested a military parade style like China and Russia and Venezuela and North Korea to show our military might.
Oh, so he just wanted.
Yeah,
you can see
he wanted a dictator military.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But what happened was the Pentagon denied him the military parade because all of a sudden they had hundreds of thousands of soldiers who were complaining about foot spurs.
I get it.
Yeah, you get it, right? So to me, the military did a wonderful thing.
Yes.
And I think that they send a message to Trump saying, "Hey, look, you know what? You're talking against our people. John McCain was a vet, a hero.
POW.
And regardless whether you disagree or agree with him, just the fact that you didn't have enough respect, you filthy bum,
I know, I get
to
upset
respect
very
the
much.
fact that he let the man rest in peace and let his legacy live on regardless. Let the people choose whether they agree with John McCain or not, in
Right.
life or in death. But as a president, you have to stand the line above that
Right.
and be the example of what it is to be a commander-in-chief.
Well, that's the thing with him. He doesn't want choice.
So I'm glad that the Pentagon and the military stood up to this pig and said, we unite against you, and we will not portray our military like a dictatorial military, because that's not what we're used for, and that's not what taxpayer money should be used for. Because if you're going to use money for a parade to do that, guess what? Use the money for other things like fixing roads and bridges. Okay, our
The
infrastructure,
homeless,
the homeless.
Education.
Give it back to the vets.
Or the vets, especially the vets.
Oh, and this he's taunting that he did the choice program for the vets. That was signed by Obama back in 2014 into law,
Well,
where the
that-
vets were given choice. He's trying to take credit for that. That is a lie. He did not do it. That was Obama's doing. This guy is a filthy liar.
He is.
Gets me mad, man.
I know. It
That
gets me.
mother Fletcher gets me mad, boy.
I know. I mean, he's a fudger, man. He's a fudger.
Truth matters. You need to see the video on to John McCain. Truth matters.
That's true.
So anyway, kudos to the military. That's right. Kudos. You got my blessing.
That's how everything I see them, I give them the respect, man.
That's
Definitely.
right. Yeah, the last
You
time
know?
I saw them eating at a diner, and we paid for their meal. You know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's what I think everybody should be encouraged to do. You see any men and women out there, their service uniforms, pay for their meal, offer them a cup of coffee, whatever it
yeah.
is, because they do a lot of sacrifice for us who sit here behind the mic and we criticize and we debate, but they're the ones who actually put all the work.
Definitely. And this is not a totalitarianism a country.
Nope.
Yeah, authoritarian. Everybody has a choice in this country
For now.
for now.
Unless we, the
Unless we-
Republicans take over
unless
again
we
all
give
three
up.
houses and we're done.
And we give up
Yeah, we're
more.
done. Okay. Let's talk about the topic on something that is sensitive to you, but I'm outraged with it because I'm not religious.
No, I
okay?
think
Hold on,
we have
let me-
misunderstood each other.
Hold
with
on,
that.
no, bro. Let me introduce the topic.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute.
You know?
Okay.
So as we're talking, we're going to be talking about the Catholic Church, the priest, and these kids. Okay. Although it's not a political topic, it is a topic that requires me political movement. Okay. Because I disagree that all these priests and these nuns were able to molest hundreds and thousands of children, and there was no consequences or no law instituted to arrest these mother Fletchers.
And you're talking about for many, many years.
So for me, if it was any other church, you best believe that these priests or these pastors would have been in jail. But somehow the Catholic Church has some political clout that it allows them to abuse the law and go above the law and get away with it. And I think that is a crime in itself. That is not a true church to me. That is on the principles of Christianity. That is a corruption to me of great politics, no matter where it goes. Okay? I think they should pay the price. The priest should go to jail, and they should be tried in court like anybody else would.
I agree. I agree with the fact that these priests and nuns should go to jail for a very long time.
Yes,
You know?
I think they should be brought to justice. I don't know why they're getting away with it, but they have clout in Washington. They got clout inside politics. That should not be allowed.
And that goes back to my time when I was.
You ever got molested by
by a priest? No.
Oh, did you ever?
No, I never got
I'm just kidding.
molested by a priest. No, but I wanted to be an altar boy. You know? What are you laughing for?
Well, thank God. Thank God you didn't, because you would have been saying,
hey. You're radical, I'll tell you that.
Hey, little Jimmy, come here. I want to talk to you.
This guy. No, but serious.
Jimmy, what are you doing, Father?
Hey. How you gonna talk about
No,
that?
I'm just kidding. But see, that's what I'm talking about. You better be lucky.
Scared me there, bro.
You better be lucky you wasn't an altar boy.
No.
So you're
yeah, I didn't have the time, so I could only go to mass and then come back out. And
Jimmy, come here, Jimmy.
But
it reminds me of the time of The Exorcist. Remember that movie?
No,
Jimmy,
I know. I mean, my argument.
why you do this to me, Jimmy?
But my argument is, in our local parish, you know what I mean? In my local
Go ahead.
You're bad. This is a serious issue, so it gets down to my
It's serious.
stomach.
I'm not saying that it's not serious, but it just inflames me that these guys get away with it.
But I've seen, I've met priests, I even it's crazy. I remember Sister Francesca. Remember Sister Francesca?
I remember Sister Francesca.
Okay. I remember my catechism. I remember everything. Everything went smooth. I had very good priests. They were very, whatever they were, celibate or not, I don't know. But they were good to me, And I would walk in dark places with them, like in the confession box, and they would go into the box and we'll talk. There was nothing fresh to talk to me about, and I confessed, and then I came back out, And the thing is that I'm trying to say is that with the bad wheat, with the wheat grows, the tares. You ever heard that? I believe it's the tares in the wheat. The weed actually takes a form of the wheat, and it looks identical to it until a certain point where it dies down. So basically, I know there's good people in these institutions.
I don't doubt
but at the
that
same
there's good
time,
people.
sometimes they're held back by fear, and there's some that have spoken.
But shouldn't you fear God more?
Of course.
Than the priest or the nuns or the organization itself?
I understand, but at that moment, that person was, because they
see, that's the thing.
They got scattered.
But that's what gets to me.
And that's what happened.
You as a Christian, and you know something is wrong in your church, right? And you know that it doesn't upheld to the principles of the teachings.
No,
right?
Definitely.
Then you should say and be bold and say, hey, you know what? This is wrong. Right. This is against the principles of God. I am speaking because I fear God more than I fear you. Right. So they should stand up just for the fact that they're just good Christians and believe in what the Bible is teaching and that they're sticking by the principle.
But you're saying that there was organizations back in the 70s, mid 70s, where I was about that age where I can go to communion, and they would admit to things that are going on in the church. That's when it first really started being light, and people started saying, "Oh wow, that's happening." No, they were looked at as fanatics, but they would speak. They don't care. They let you know this church is where they molested this person, or whatever. They're being switched around, things like that. This is an issue that's been going on for years, even before us.
No, I get it. But it's just infuriating to me. It's infuriating.
No, me too.
But you know what? One thing,
children to fall into a situation like that by a mentor, supposed to be a mentor,
right?
A leader. You know what I mean?
But you know what? This new pope has done the right thing by not sheltering them like the previous popes and the previous organizations.
That's the problem too.
You understand what I mean? Mm-hmm. But that again, I think that to me, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll be honest
disgusted with it. You know what? Do you remember when we were younger?
Yeah,
we had a friend that used to go to Father John's house all the time, and he was there for hours. You remember that?
You must be. Remember that? I don't.
Now, I'm just thinking about it now. I said, do you remember Father John over there over there? I don't want to say the street.
Deliver pizza to.
Yeah, Father John over there in the church over there.
I didn't really meet him that well. Like,
No,
I met him once.
remember that we had a friend that used to go to Father John's house all the time.
I forgot his name. I don't remember that.
Our friend.
Yes. Yeah.
We don't want to mention names, but he used to be there for hours. Remember? We used to be like, what is he doing there in Father John's house?
We never know.
I'm
But then again, I don't know. I mean, there's.
But anyway.
I was with a group of 5 kids, not visiting a pastor, just being alone with a detective that was a mentor of ours. The guy didn't even flinch his mind to molest anyone.
Yeah.
He was just a pure mentor. That's what I'm saying. I mean, there's people that are doing it. First of all, I'll be honest with you. No one should be celibate. You know what I mean?
I don't think so. I think
no one should be celibate. Yeah, the thing of practicing celibacy, I don't know where, they must have got that from Paul when he said, if you could be alone, but if you can't, then marry.
But wasn't that the first principle of God when he created the earth? He said it's not man for man to be alone.
Exactly. You're my helpmeet.
So he gave him a woman.
Right. And she was called HELPMEET.
Help me?
Help me, yeah.
Help me.
Yeah. In the
don't tell that to women.
In the case, because
so women were called. Wait a minute, let me get this right. So women were called help me.
No, not the way you think it is.
I know.
No. Meaning, she brings balance to the man. Believe it or not, she brings emotional, sexual, psychological balance.
Now I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna say, you're supposed to be my helpmeet.
And then she's gonna be bewildered. She's gonna be bewildered.
Yeah. You wanted me to be your helpmeet? Sure. Start with this. Slap me with a piece of steak on my face. That's what you're going to do. You cook it.
Adobo and sazon.
You cook it, mother flecha. That's your helpmeet.
But that's what I'm trying to say. I mean, there are good people and bad people, and everywhere. And every type of parish or every type of, even within the evangelicals, they hide. You know what I mean? They're wolves in sheep clothing.
Right, but
sheep in wolves' clothing.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I mean, I agree with you. There's bad people everywhere. Right. But what I'm saying is this. Oh,
I know, the conviction. Nobody was being convicted.
It's not even that. It's what I'm saying. If this incident would have happened in any other church, they would have been...
Oh, they would have been...
in jail.
Either that or ousted, In
jail.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
What makes the Catholic Church immune to the legal law?
Yeah, I mean...
You understand what makes an immune to prosecution?
It's almost like a political move, right?
Exactly.
Because
that's my point of bringing this on. There's deep pockets in there.
I agree with that.
There's deep pockets in politics the Catholic Church has, and that's why no one went to jail. That's why they were able to hide this stuff. Yeah. You understand? I think it's wrong. I think that it shouldn't happen. I think they should face prosecution. I think they should go to jail, and that's it. That's the only way to give again for these victims.
I mean, I myself would have took the courage to say, hey, this person got molested by father or whatever his name is, right? Yep. I mean, I personally would say, because no child should go through any type of trauma like that. You know what I mean? That's a lot of trauma. And that's something that will stay with them forever.
Yep. Well, in closing that, I disagree with the Catholic Church. I think that the priests and nuns should be brought to justice. I think they should face the justice system so that the victims can have some closure.
Some solace.
And what do you think about this Bush praising the immigrants are a blessing? I know you don't like Bush.
Yeah,
I don't like. Look, what he did, 9/11,
all that controversy
stuff, but it's all. A lot of it is conspiracy theory.
No, it's not actually.
You don't think so?
No. Listen, I'm not talking about.
I mean, I'm not a Bush fan, but he said something nice.
This guy.
Well, look, where I agree with Bush. Okay, Bush could have done his mistakes. 9/11, it's done. It's part of history, right? Now it's in our books to learn from it and just move on from there, right? That's where we talk about moving on. But by Bush, I could tell you when he was president, he was not anti-immigrant.
Right.
Even when he was president. Okay. You can say that he was the one, the cause of 9/11. He didn't like black people, well, like Kanye West did that. But I always deferred on that to say, you know what, I don't think Bush is that way. I've never really seen the Bush family that way. You understand? I did see the mistakes he made as far as militarily.
Well, I think what's funny
politically, with the Iraq thing. But I think from a social standpoint of immigration and discrimination against blacks, I didn't really get that from him.
No, me neither. I mean, the man did apologize, actually. Now that I remember, he apologized on national TV for thinking there was, chemicals at Saddam Hussein's, he apologized for Iraq's situation. I don't know if you ever heard that.
Right, but remember that these guys make the decision based on the information that is given to them.
Intelligence, yeah.
So, it's not just one man making a decision.
No, it's many.
You got many that were their advisors and people coming in, you know what I mean? At the end of the day,
we don't know.
We don't know. So we got to leave it there because that's a conspiracy theory. But now, what he says,
it's conspiracy theory.
But what I do agree with him is that immigration is a blessing. This country is built on immigrants.
Always has.
This country is built on pizza. Just built on Chinese food.
Hey, I'll be honest with you. I like halal.
Halal. This halal country, food, the diversity is great. So immigrants are a blessing to this country. Okay.
I believe immigrants, Muslims, you name it.
Name it. Even Jewish, whoever, doesn't even matter. Even though Jewish are not considered immigrants because they got dual citizenship.
Oh. Okay.
Just like the Puerto Ricans, they got dual citizenship, right?
Oh, okay.
But anyway,
that's something good to know.
Yeah. The Jewish got dual citizenship. They don't need. They don't consider them immigrants. There.
Right.
Okay. But anyway, I agree with Bush there that immigrants are a blessing. I think that we should welcome immigrants. And look, where do I stand with this wall?
Oh, that wall. Right.
Do I agree with the wall? I do. I agree. There's got to be some kind of barrier. And I think we talked about this in the last show. I agree there's got to be some sense of border control. I agree with that.
Yeah.
What I disagree with the president is the vilifying of people. How he portrays these people to be MS-13 killers and rapists and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Of people who are just looking for financial asylum.
That's what they're looking for,
right.
For freedom for their families to be able to prosper.
But in essence, this is what I want Republicans to listen to. These people that come from South America and Mexico do not know the laws of America.
They don't. Yeah.
They don't understand the system of how it works. So in their mind, they say, America is my only hope to get out of this poverty and go. So when they take the journey, they're not going in their journey knowing our Constitution or the law or the procedures that it requires for them to become, because they don't have that kind of system in their countries to be able to be informed. You understand what I mean? So when they come on their good faith that we're going to have mercy and let them in.
Right, that's true.
So to me, amnesty. It's not that they're coming in to be criminals or they're coming in because they're unwelcome or they're invading the country, as this disgusting president has said.
Right.
Okay, that's not what it means to me. To me, this got to be treated like a humanitarian effort of refugees. This is when you call on FEMA. This is when you call on the Red Cross. This is when you call on all the volunteerism that you have in the United States to meet them at the border, to give them food, to give them water, to check their health, to make sure that their kids are healthy, keep the children with their mothers, give them tents, and then have somebody process them right there at the border saying, hey, look, this is how it works in America. We cannot let you in because this is our system.
True.
You understand what I mean? Here, we can take your fingerprints, we can take your picture, we can give you the application, we can help you fill out the application, at least to get it initially started. These are your options that you have in order for us to grant you access to our place.
Right.
And work with Mexico, okay? Work with Mexico rather than vilifying Mexico. Work with Mexico. Say, hey, look, Mexico, we can't let them cross, but we can work with you that we can then process people.
Right.
You understand what I mean? As it goes. You understand what I mean?
I think we just have to get to a point where can't like they say, can't we all get along? And the first thing that we would have sent out there, and maybe there has been, but in small amounts, trickle amounts probably, is like the Red Cross and
Right.
People that are going to help with the health and people with the
Right.
acknowledgement of education, and let them know how our country, this is why, like you said, let them know what's going on. Instead of leaving them up in the air, they're jumping off the bridge there, or
That's because they're treating them like criminals.
right,
all
and
of
their
them.
kids are separated from them. There's crying here, crying there. There's a social social trauma,
Exactly.
stress, and all that stuff. They're, how we villainize, he's villainizing them. And not only how he villainizes, but they think that the whole country's feeling the same way.
Exactly. Well, he's a disgusting guy.
Yeah.
Period. He's disgusting. He's small-minded.
And that's the problem.
Narcissistical idiot, as Ann Coulter has called him. And now I share her words. Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God for Ann Coulter having a breakthrough moment.
Right. But
Look, at the end of the day, we're America. We are the example. Oh, and by the way, yeah. we have our cup of lock him up, individual one, in case anybody wants to order it. It's a beautiful cup. A little promotion there. But let me put it to you like this. This is a humanitarian refugee thing. It wasn't to call the military to come to the border.
right.
This wasn't an instant where you have these big militia coming from other countries or anything like that. You understand? And all this lies that he says about immigrants or terrorists, that they caught thousands of terrorists at the border. They caught thousands.
I remember that day he was sitting
You understand?
down and started explaining this. I'm saying, where is he pulling this out of? A rabbit's hat?
Yeah.
Ass or
No,
something?
he's pulling it out of his ass.
hat. I get a little passionate about that too because, this guy just says whatever he wants.
But he
says whatever he wants. He gets away with it. But guess what? Everything has its time and its place.
Yes, and I hope that in 2020 is the time and the place that we use the power of the vote to get this mother Fletcher out of office.
That's it.
All right, Edwin, in our closing arguments. In our closing statements, here's what you're gonna have your say in your closing, and I'll have mine to remind people of this ongoing antagonistic idiot who is running our country. And let's go for it here. Let's see. All right, and have your mindfulness moment. The floor is yours.
Well, it's gonna be very short today. I'm just gonna let everyone know, just calm your nerves at this time and unstress yourself or de-stress yourself, and just close your eyes and your mind. You don't have to make it blank. Just let the rivers of thoughts just pass you by like a river, right? All I could tell you is, let's make that change together. Let's be able to understand of each other better and be able to live on. It's making me. I can feel your mind over here.
I think it's gonna be short. Not just kidding.
And let's make that vote count in 2020. It's very important we keep repeating it because we're on passion. We have a fire for that. We have to, because our country right now, we having good women and men entering our Congress, leaders making changes that are positive or at least talking about them. We have to get back to our roots and not back to an industrialized age. Angel?
Yeah, and now it's immigrant number one. Uma. Today's politics are toxic.
Definitely.
This man, Trump, has intoxicated the nation into a big divide between ourselves and our principles. He has poisoned the waters and have made what was once something that we were moving forward. He has put us back in time. He is bringing back the hate, the division, and the history that America was built on, of segregation, of racism, white supremacy. But it is time for us as a people to uphold together, whether you are Republican or Democrat. It doesn't matter whether you agree or disagree. What matters is that we respect each other as people and human beings and are able to coexist with each other without having to vilify each other, without having to hate each other, without having to fight with each other. So realize that this man is toxic for our country, regardless of who you are. So vote him out. Vote him out and rise up. Let your voices be heard. Let your voices be heard. So I am Uma.
And my name is Alibaba.
I am immigrant number 1.
I am immigrant number 2.
So I thank you for joining us on episode 6. Please come back and join us for episode 7.
You have a great, mindful day.